See, most men would rather bench press a fucking truck than admit that they feel lost or lonely or broken. Because somewhere along the way, we were taught that being vulnerable makes us weak, that showing emotions is something for women, that's something only women do, that real men are supposed to be strong, which in our heads means emotionally unshakable, no fear, no sadness, no insecurity, just a stoic, impenetrable wall of masculine dominance. And if you ever do feel shit, you shove it down, you lock it up, you move the fuck on, because that's what men are supposed to do, right? Let me get one thing straight here, guys. Most men are so absolutely terrified of emotional vulnerability, not just uncomfortable with it, not just unsure how to express it, they're straight up terrified. And if you don't believe me, ask yourself this. When was the last time you told someone how you really feel? Not the surface level, I'm good, or I'm just dealing with some shit. I mean the raw, unfiltered truth. Can't remember. Exactly. That mindset is exactly why so many men are emotionally shut down and disconnected and just fucking miserable. It's why you feel like something is off but can't quite put your finger on it. It's why you struggle in your relationships, why you explode over small shit, why you feel numb half the time and anxious the other half. And the crazy part, most men don't even realize that they're doing this. They just assume that this is how they are, that this is just life, that's not how you are, man. It's how you were conditioned to be. Let me tell you something that took me way too long to figure out. Real strength, it's not about avoiding emotions, it's about facing them. See, I used to think I had all of my shit together. I thought I was strong because I didn't let my emotions control me. I had this tough, independent, I don't need anyone mindset, and I thought that that's what made me powerful. But the truth, I was just avoiding shit that I didn't want to deal with. And I would have kept convincing myself that I was fine. And then there was this day, my girlfriend, she called me the fuck out. She saw straight through all of my bullshit. Every time I said I was good, when I wasn't. Every time I shut down instead of actually talking about what was wrong. Every time I tried to brush off real conversations with some sarcastic joke, she caught it. And she didn't let me get away with it. She forced me to reevaluate everything I thought I knew about myself, about masculinity, about strength. And let me tell you, that shit was uncomfortable as hell, but it was necessary. Because here's the truth, if you can't be vulnerable, you can't truly be strong. Think about it. What's more powerful, a man who constantly runs from his own emotions, or a man who can sit with them, process them, and then still move forward despite how he's feeling? What's more dominant, a man who explodes over small shit because he's bottling so much up, so much pain, or a man who has the emotional intelligence to navigate stress without losing control? What's more alpha? A man who hides from connection because it makes him uncomfortable, or a man who can build deep, meaningful relationships because he's not afraid of his own feelings? Most men think vulnerability is exposing weakness, but in reality, vulnerability is owning truth. It's having balls to be honest about what's going on inside your head. It's about the ability to communicate instead of shutting down. It's the self-awareness to recognize your patterns and actually do something about them. And that's real strength. That's real masculinity. But let's talk about why most men don't do this. Because it's not just about personal choice. It's how we've been trained. As boys, we were told to man up. Every time we cried, we were taught that expressing emotions makes us soft. That if we ever do open up, we'd be better off if we just keep it to ourselves. Because no one wants to hear that shit. And over time, we learned that being vulnerable isn't safe. We learned to shut down, to suppress, to internalize. And now we're grown men walking around emotionally constipated, wondering why we feel so fucking disconnected from ourselves and everyone around us. And let me be clear, this shit doesn't just affect your emotions, it affects everything. Your relationships, your career, your self-confidence, your ability to handle stress. Because if you can't process your emotions, you're not controlling them. You're just ignoring them. And that shit builds up. It festers, it turns into anger, frustration, self-sabotage, anxiety, addiction. It's why some of you can't form deep relationships. It's why some of you work yourselves into the ground but still feel empty. It's why some of you numb yourselves with social media, with video games, alcohol, weed, porn, anything to avoid sitting with your own mind. And the truth of the matter is you can't fake your way out of this. You cannot just act tough. You can convince yourself that you don't need vulnerability, but your patterns don't lie. Your relationships don't lie. Your addictions, your emotional outbursts, your constant distractions, they don't fucking lie. You can either keep running from this or you can face it and start building actual emotional strength. But how? How do you exactly do that? How do you actually develop emotional resilience instead of suppressing everything? I'm going to walk you through it. The first step, okay? Grab a pen and paper, write this shit down. The first step, stop bullshitting yourself. Stop pretending you're fine when you're not. Stop hiding behind distractions. Stop using that phrase, I just don't like talking about my feelings, as an excuse to avoid doing the inner work. Be honest with yourself, brutally fucking honest, and ask yourself, what emotions do I avoid? Write that question down and answer it. What triggers me? Seriously, think about it. What triggers you? Write that shit down. Every single event that triggers you. Why do I struggle to open up? What's the first thing that pops in your head? Why do you struggle to open up? And don't just skim over these answers. Sit with them. Second, start being vulnerable in small ways. I'm not saying you need to sit in a fucking therapy circle and cry about your childhood holding hands with a bunch of strangers. But when someone asks how you're doing, try answering honestly instead of defaulting to, I'm good. If something bothers you, say it. If you're feeling overwhelmed, acknowledge it. Vulnerability isn't about dumping your emotions on everyone. It's about building the courage to express yourself authentically. Now, third, get the right people around you. Because the truth is, most men don't even have a space where they can be vulnerable. They've surrounded themselves by people who would rather mock them than support them. And if that's you, you need to change your environment. You need people who challenge you, who hold you accountable, who push you to grow. And if you don't have that, then you need to find it. Because trying to figure this shit out alone is like trying to cut your own hair without a mirror, and you're gonna miss some spots, and you're probably gonna fuck it up. Well, that's why I coach men through this, because I know it's what it's like to be stuck in these patterns. I know what it's like to think vulnerability is weakness, and I know that's a fucking lie. Because the second you stop running from this, the second you start doing the work, everything changes for you. Your relationships get stronger, your confidence skyrockets, your ability to handle stress goes through the fucking roof. Because instead of avoiding emotions, you know how to manage them. And that is where real power comes from. So if you're ready to break out of this emotional prison, if you're ready to actually do the work and step into the strongest version of yourself, click on that link that's in my description. It's so you can get access to my calendar and schedule a free call with me. No more avoidance here, guys. No more bullshit. It's time to face your shit and take your power back. Go out there and destroy your limitations, reclaim your strength, and let's build a fucking legacy.